Our next guest is Dr. Hashemiyoon, who's joining us from Germany. She got COVID-19, and she's going to tell us about her experience. She lives out of Germany. Hello, Dr. Hashemiyoon. How are you?
Hello, Dr. Farshchian. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so you live in Germany, which is a totally different medical system than here. Can you tell us how it is over there, please?
So the first thing I can tell you is that we, in Germany, so one of the things that everybody is talking about is that this is a disease that really is going to hit people who have underlying other issues and also who are in the higher age bracket. And Germany has a higher population of elderly as compared to the United States, and yet we have a much lower case fatality rate. And having a lower case fatality rate, I believe, is because of several things. And one of them is that we have easy access to healthcare. We are not stretched in the healthcare department at all. We have hospitals that were prepared for to be inundated with patients, and we do, of course, have patients, but we are not inundated. Our staff has all the equipment that they need, and we have easy access to testing, both serological and for the PCR test. So for myself, I ended up coming down with COVID-19, and I called my doctor and I said, I'm pretty sure I have it. And I went into the office, actually not inside the building. They had set up a space that was specifically for COVID-19 patients so we don't infect others. And the doctor came out and I took a PCR test. Literally, he said, do you want to come today? And I went the next day by my choice. And I took that. And then I also took blood tests. And I asked for a serological test to show antibodies, because in case my COVID-19 had run its course, as it were, then I wanted to know that I already had the antibodies, which means it would confirm either I have it now or I did have it. And in fact, my COVID-19 PCR test came back negative, which means I was not in the viral shedding phase, but my serological test for the antibodies came back positive. So in fact, I did have COVID-19. And so I think the ease of having that is very important. The healthcare availability to us is extremely important. That decreases our stress. And if I were not in a position where I could go out to the doctor's office, we actually have a hotline you can call, and they will come to your house and they will give you the PCR test there. So we have very wide and comfortable and easy access. We're not stressed or worried about being able to get tested. And I think that's a very important part of it. And then being able to follow up with the proper health care is, of course, the second aspect, but you can't get proper health care if you don't know that you have it.
Now, what was the symptoms of COVID-19 is so atypical in everybody. What was your symptoms like?
So the studies have shown that about 80 to 81% of people are either asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, subclinical, and then 15% have severe, I think in some other studies they're calling it moderate, but it's severe, and then 5% have critical, and then half of those critical patients pass away. So there's a very large group of people that supposedly are having mild or no symptoms. Doesn't sound so bad. Well, actually, it turns out that the vast majority of people who do get COVID-19 will have fever and will have fatigue. Those two are almost inescapable as symptoms, but all the other symptoms that we could have, body aches, headache, dehydration, dyspnea, shortness of breath, etc., these are variable, but they can also vary, and they do vary within an individual. I personally, for example, even though I don't run fevers, I did have a fever, and the most important thing but only for a short time, but the most prominent symptom that I had, that I still have, is fatigue. And this is something else. So people who have mild symptoms in that category actually are having like the symptoms of the worst flu of their life, for example. And it you know, you wake up one day, you have a sore throat, the next day you don't, the next day you have aches, the next day you don't, you have something else. So this variability, it's a roller coaster ride. And then maybe in the morning you wake up, you feel okay. 2 hours later, you feel worse than when you woke up. So in different epochs, within one day, within the course of the infection itself, you really are are on the ride of your life, and it's not a good one. And I think one of the most important things that isn't being talked about is that even after you're over your COVID-19, supposedly, it's almost worse than when you had it. And the fatigue really does not go away. And I had a very, very bad case of dry hacking cough, which actually my doctor prescribed a homeopathic therapy for me, and it's working very well.
I was going to ask you about that. What was the exact homeopathic medicine, if you recall the name of it?
So I had access to both, like the typical Z-Pak and other, Western medical options that are very common. And I also had an opportunity to take this homeotherapy. And I chose to start with this, especially because I was not COVID positive on the PCR test at the moment. And you get tricked into thinking you're feeling better, so maybe you don't want to. But my cough really persisted, and the fatigue. So I was given two things. One of them, and I'm going to show you guys, is this Drosera, and it's from a very reputable. That DHU means it's a Deutsche Homöopathic Union, so they're actually very well monitored here. And this particular one is for if you have a hacking cough, which I do. And I found that it started to work almost immediately. And then I'm taking that every 6 hours, twice a day in the morning, so like at 6 and 12. And then I'm taking this one, which is for infection, inflammation, and things like that. And I'm taking that at 6 p.m. and midnight. And I almost immediately, within 24 hours, started to feel better when I was taking those. So I didn't feel the need to take the Z-Pak or anything else.
Thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday afternoon here in Miami, and you are, of course, in Germany. Again, thank you for joining us.
We have 72-degree weather today.
You have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.